here she is, the Tomb Raider of the mind, as I like to call her, Anjii Bryers.
Thanks so much, Greg. Look, I am so happy that you're all here, and thank you for coming. It's just really amazing to have this opportunity. And two things: thank you, Greg, with your sinus and your illness, that you're still here hosting the show.
Of course.
And I actually have puppies here with me, so we're going to get the odd barking and things that we need to sort. So that's part of the journey and part of who I am, I guess.
Yeah.
So I am, and also I've got allergies too. So we're going to autumn here, so all of the dust is settling. So I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I specialize in PTSD. And I do this because I experienced my own PTSD, and PTSD from childhood. And one thing that I've learned is that there's so many children walking around with undiagnosed PTSD that are labeled as troublemakers. And that to me is a really incredible shame that we have this in our society, that it's not recognized. I have a lot of teachers that I talk to, and once you talk to them about how it works in children and things, they all come up with at least a dozen kids that they know of that they're like, wow, okay, that changes my view on those children. And so once you have PTSD, you can recognize it in other people. And it's something that I've always said to soldiers, that once you've got it, you understand it, and you can see it. And that's a really, really big key. So my story is that, after a long journey anyway, and, a few close calls with death, I had a gentleman decide that if he couldn't have me, no one would. And so he attacked me in a public place and threw me into a fireplace and through a glass mirror. And I spent a month in hospital, and was diagnosed with severe PTSD. My body shook for 6 months uncontrollably. It was like a washing machine. And I was very, very ill, and my brain wasn't functioning. I was seeing nightmares, over top of. So when you have severe PTSD, it's like you're sitting here in the room, but there's also a movie running across it. And, there would always be chase dreams or like trauma things. And look, the normal system didn't work for me. Psychology every week and appointments didn't work for me. And I found that, having to talk about the trauma every week for an hour and then being sent out on the street, reliving that trauma, just made it worse and worse and worse, to the point where my brain wasn't functioning. They put you on beta blockers and they sort of just numb everything. So you're kind of broken anyway, and then you're numbed, so you can't think, you can't go to sleep, and then you can't wake up. And so there was all of these symptoms, and it really got to the point where all of the chemicals and everything, it was just, I was actually literally, suicidal, like suicidal ideology. You're driving down the street and you just want this to end. And so I had to make some change. And knowing the fact that the human brain cannot differentiate between reality and non-reality, which is why our video games and things, people say, I don't like Nike, but I get Nike. They'll be playing a game that has Nike on the, the soccer field in their game around the edges, and they don't understand that peripheral marketing. So it's, they're living that. And the army games that you play, they're made for a reason. And the American armed forces paid for some games to be created because they needed more kids coming in and joining the army. And so they made these games. And, it's like my son, he said, oh, I can fight that, because, he'd fought in Iraq in his game and he'd won everything. And, he knew the risk, and it creates the brain. The brain believes that it's actually done this. So understanding this, and I think my last straw was, going to yet another psychologist, and I met him. And in the first 5 minutes of meeting this guy that was going to save my life, he handed me a bowl of almonds and he said, "Have an almond, Anjii." And I said, "No, thanks." And he said, "Have an almond." And took an almond and he said, "Now put the almond in your mouth." He said, don't eat it, don't eat it. And so I put it in my mouth and he said, "Now feel the almond in your mouth. Feel the texture of the almond." And he goes, "This is cognitive thinking, because when you're concentrating on the almond, you're not concentrating on your trauma." And I'm like, so it's avoidance therapy? He wasn't very happy with me. But, I realized I had to make change. And so hypnotherapy was the way to do that. So I wrote myself a script. So hypnotherapists generally work on scripts. They'll memorize different things, or they'll have, little keys that they use in there. And, I don't find them particularly effective because they're not personal. I didn't find them. But I wrote a script in a way that I've done many, and I played it to myself. I talked to myself as if I was the client. And then I played it back to myself as the client. And what I'd done with it, because I have this thing that the answers are all inside us. So I went and stood inside the PTSD. And what had happened was, like, for a year, I was having these seizures. And what would happen, I would just be fine. And then suddenly I'm like going like this, and my eyes are rolling in my head, and I look pretty awful because everyone around me is panicking. So I know that I'm looking, a bit disastrous. And inside of it, I'm clear. Like, I can't feel anything. I can't feel my body or anything working, but I'm in there going, "I'm okay. I'm okay." And no one can hear me. And so these were a real problem. I didn't want to have one while I was driving, and so I played it back to myself, and I said, "Stand inside the PTSD," which I went and stood inside the PTSD. And then I'd set up a pathway to take me back through my triggers, because these were happening beyond my thought. It wasn't sort of like, "Oh, I'm feeling stressed, I'm going to do this." It was just, things would just happen. So I played it back to myself, and it took me through my triggers. And I found that I was shown clearly that 15 minutes before one of these attacks, I would have this sense of nausea. And that was my first trigger. So then I stopped the recording and I was like, okay, from now on, when I get this sensation, I'll take 3 deep breaths and I will just excuse myself and go quietly somewhere and sit and reset my brain. Because what this journey down there explained to me was that this is your brain saying, overload, overload, got to stop now. Hey, you've got to go on. Hey, we're shutting you down. And it would shut me down. So it was like a safety mechanism in my brain. And so it took me through all of these triggers. And I never had an attack again from that moment. It was mind-blowing. And I'd had an NDE, and in the NDE, they'd talked to me about what I'm here to do and why I learned everything I did. It was because you needed that to come into this life so you could go in and remember tools and bring them forward and take them out there and help people, and actually to teach people that healing is just that. It's self-healing, and it's self-re-empowerment, and it's done within, and it's instant. So that's how I sort of started on this journey with PTSD. And I'd been instructed that that's what I was going to do, and I didn't feel that I'm not I haven't got a doctorate in psychology and things, and they're just like, you don't need it. You have the University of Life, and you've learned this firsthand. And what you understand about Mount Everest is something that they could never get from textbooks. And that's what you actually came here to do. You'll work with that. We work with people, and then later on you work with animals. But this is the tool. So it was a really incredible tool. And I then was somewhere, and of course, being myself, I'm kind of like, keep it to yourself. People don't want to know. You're just going to get bashed by people. And it ended up that there was an emergency for someone, and they said, please treat our friend. She's in a really, really bad way. and she'd had a brain injury, and she couldn't get words from her brain to her hand, and her other hand was something else, and she'd started getting to a point where her heart would just stop. So her automatic shutdowns was really severe. And I said, no, I don't, I don't know anything about that. And it sort of ended up, because it was putting her in hospital and there was a huge risk of her dying. And so I ended up doing it and saying, look, let's just go down and you can have a look at that. And I understand she'd had an axe through her head, so it had cut her brain. And so that's where these things weren't working. And so I said, look, let's go down. I do know that there's so many stories of people like rewiring their brain after seizures and things. And so, let's go and have a look. And so we went down there and she was able to do that, went into this engine room and just rewired the way things went through, set up with these triggers, looked at what the triggers were, and created, this space for her. And she took what she learned from it. And it was really, really a deeply spiritual experience. And, then she was writing. And it was just an awakening for me. And so from then I was like, okay, if this can help people, if this can stop, other PTSD as being suicidal. And working with people that are suicidal is absolutely against the hypnosis, rules of play. But to me, for people, they have to trust the person that's doing hypnosis with him. They have to want to be where they're going more than they want to be here. So let's see, who wants to be there more than they want to be here than someone that's suicidal, that's prepared to take their own life to leave where they are. So to me, it's like, well, that's what we're meant to be doing. That's what we're meant to be helping people, and, litigation. Well, they can take half of the half I got left, like whatever, litigate. And, the third thing is you have to know what you're doing down there. And then you have to, listen to the sound of this voice and it will take you there. And so that's the key. So those 4 keys, it's like, well, we should be helping these people. And so that's when I set about to, help people survive. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. And I love what I do. I believe so much that I don't work alone. I believe that people's guides and who is around them are with us when we work. And I just believe that we can release trauma in an instant. And that's what my message is that we can spend 50 years trying to find a way to learn about a trauma that we had. So for example, I had a woman that wanted to know why she was raped when she was a certain age, and she'd done all sorts of things. She'd done psychology and tapping and I don't know, lots of things over the years to try and resolve this. And she finally said to me, you know what, I'm ready, let's just go down and I've got to get through this. And so I took her down into hypnosis. And what I was shown in my NDE is that everyone has a garden, and it's what they call our inner sanctum. And it's this garden, and it's beautiful. And they said, you'll bring people, this is where you will bring people so that they can do their own healing to their personal garden in their space. So I took her down to her garden, and then we went down by the water. And I know a lot of hypnotherapists use gardens and things now, so that's good. And we sat by the water and we lit a fire. And I said to her, just call out your question across the water. This is your healing. I can tell you what I think it is. I can tell you what I, feel it is. But how much more powerful to ask your own questions. So she called out across the water in her mind, and she said, why was I raped at that age? And she's under there, and she like, right. And I said, oh, how you going? She goes, yeah, so they told me I asked for it. And I said, okay, okay. I said, so ask them the next question. And she said, what could that be? And I said, ask them when you asked for it. And she said, apparently before I came to this life. And I said, so, talk about why. And they talked to her about why, and she said, oh, I came here to study the effects of trauma in the cells of the body and the physicality of it and how it affects relationships and sexuality and, those sort of things. And I was studying it so that I can help people going forward. I said, okay. And so we were able to work with that. And then I said to her, so you had one more question you wanted to ask. And she's like, what's that? And I said, you've always wanted to know why, and it's frustrated you to know why you didn't feel anything from after the first moment that man touched you. And she said, oh, yeah. So she asked that. And then she's having a discussion down there. And next thing she's like, oh, no. It's all good. And she said, okay, so they said to me, you wanted to study the effects of it in the body. You didn't need to study that part. So there was no need for you to see it or retain it. So, but if you want to, we can show it to you. And she's like, no, I'm all good. So, yeah, that was, just truly amazing. And, you couldn't get that answer in any class or any textbook or any work that we do. So she was able to work with that. She was able to, discover why she was doing it. Then we're able to go into the event and look at what she learned about self-courage, what she learned about happens in the body. And she was shown in there the different parts of her body where she'd put the trauma, right? And how it's come out now as a 50-year-old and how it's affected her life. And so she was able to go in and heal her body and undo some things and, thank the person for the lesson, the predator, and then tell them to F off and never come back. So that's how it works for me.
I think it's very interesting what you're saying. And again, we talked a little bit about this last night with animal communication. It seems that in general, you have this natural ability to tune into something that is already in motion, that the universe is asking to have happen, a conversation that's happening already, and you're just tuning into it. Do you think there's anything formal at all about your training or background in hypnosis that makes it the actual modality of hypnotherapy? You know what I mean? Like, have you trained in a specific version? Did you follow up certain schools of thought about it? I'm curious about the way that, you structure this work. So it's not just, a psychic tuning into another universe.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely not. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I'm curious about that.
It's very practical. It's very practical. So I studied at Ericksonian. That was the Australian College of Clinical Hypnotherapy. And that was the head of that was a woman called Margaret Kelly, and she's an incredible psychologist here in Australia. And she's also very practical, and she keeps the fairy hairy stuff out of it. She's very cold and scientific, which is a fabulous way to learn. But where I go with it is not the ookie pookie, but what I learned from self. And, so I was told that I set these things out so that I could learn. And so learning is observing self and what's happening. And then understanding, like, okay, so that in conscious thought, we all know in trauma, we all know that stuff happens, right? We all know that happens. But we can't seem to get that back to there, no matter how many I am worthy, I am beautiful, all of these things that we do, we cannot get back to there somehow. And that was my question. It's like, this is not about, I had psychologists saying to me, okay, so let's have a look at that one. And so, and so what could you have done better in that? And I said, I was 3 years old. You're telling me I need to feel fucking guilty about something? I was a victim. And now you are saying there's something that I could have done better by inferring that, right? They're doing it with their best intention, but they don't understand that they're further harming, victims by sort of saying, well, takes two to tango, little girl, were you being like, to the predator? And
Totally.
yeah. And so these things just made me angry. But I really needed to experience that part of the world so that I could understand the work that I was going to do. You can't understand you're tall until you go to China, right? Then you're, I'm tall. So I can't walk my own talk if I haven't walked my own talk. And I've walked my own talk by looking at things like that and going, there is so much silly stuff that is not just silly, but it's actually dangerous as a therapy. Like cognitive therapy, to me, some people love it. It works for some people. But to me, it's like the pills make us avoid it. Everything makes us avoid it, but it's still there. And it rears its ugly head. And, you have a soldier that, the boys arrive there and there's the armed defenders there breaking into the house. And look, he was just simply making breakfast with his wife that morning, and she's shut a cupboard that, that last click goes pop, and it popped. And next thing, he was just fighting his way out of a house in Afghanistan, right? And the riot squad's there, and the boys going, no, he's in our, we'll talk him down. And so, these things are beyond our natural thinking. It's not about just be nicer to your wife. It's like, these are beyond, there are triggers. And so that's what I had to target. And, the guidance that I receive, if it is ookie pookie, is along these lines of like keeping it practical. The practical thing is, it's great to talk about your trauma a couple of times to get it out there. But when you go to a party, and you're 40 years old, and there's a beautiful woman that arrives there, and I'm like, oh my God, she's so gorgeous, she's so confident, and and she's had a couple of glasses of wine. Next thing she's on the table going, oh, you don't understand, oh man, and I was a victim, and and it's like that person is reliving that trauma and bleeding it on the table, any table that would listen, right? And the fuel is wine. So as much as people try to keep it together, they don't. This is beyond their practical thinking. So to go in there and pull that stuff out and say, how's it working for you to be reliving that? How's it working for you to lose things and, wake up the next day and go, oh my God, I did it again, right? So this is the work I do. And what I'm here to teach is that we are so incredibly powerful, that we have the power within ourselves to heal ourselves. And it's instant. So I had Interpol interview me for 2 hours about my childhood. And, I think that's all I need to say. And then I had my near-death experience, and I hated my dad. I hated him. And I wished no good to him. And I'd carried this all my life. So I was just one of, millions of people. And when I had my NDE, I found myself on one of the journeys in there at a big oval table. And it's a big stone grey oval table. And there was all these beings there. And one of them was even like, he was a lion with a flaming head. So I'm sort of, in the middle of this NDE going, oh, maybe this is a dream, because it's not practical. But then I've had, people afterwards say to me, oh, I've witnessed him too in my NDE. So that sort of is okay. But in this NDE, I was watching this table, and I was at this table, and I was there with all of my guides and those that loved me, and I was planning this life and what I was going to do. And they showed me planning all of this. And I was standing there saying, I need your help. Like, I need to do this, and I want to get it done young. And people just go, no, you can't do that. That's so, you can't do that. Not so young. Like, that's just, no one could survive that. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can do it. I've got to walk my own talk, and I want to get it out of the way. And, like, it took me 50 years instead of the 20 I'd probably planned, but, I'm getting there. But I was saying, I need someone to help me do this. So I was asking for someone to come and give me trauma so that I could learn from it, right? And pull the tools back into this existence that I knew were there. And then one stood up who spent many lives with me, who loves me more than any. And these are the words I remember sort of feeling when I was there. And that one said, with tears pouring down his face, I know you can do this. I know you're gallant. And Anjii, if I don't think they called me Anjii, but if anyone has to do this, I would rather it be me than someone that doesn't love you. So, I'll give this life to help you with that. And that person was my father. So where I went from there was to make sense of this, right? And so
Yeah.
this is just one of the most powerful things that has happened in my life. It's like, no matter what happened to you, did you plan it? Like, take what you learned from it, take what's going to make you grow. It'll give you a clue to your future, to see your past. And that's what this healing work does. It's like, look, I don't have the answers to your trauma. I could say, well, stuff happened when you were a child, but you're a big girl now, and, get on with it, and you've got the power, and, have your self-worth, and, whatever they put in their scripts that they do. But I'd rather say, you are all powerful. Let's go down there. Do your own healing, because that's going to empower you. Because no matter what I say, if I come back and you sort of say, I went to Anjii and she fixed me, I have further disempowered you, just like everyone else. And it's all about re-empowering you. So that has to come from you. So all of these tools seem to have come from somewhere, as you say, out there, but from within me. And so I'm grateful for everything life's taught me, right? And now I've put them all together, and I'm, doing the work that I'm still here to do. I've had a few recent close calls, and they're like, no, you're still here to do this work, but you need to start getting it out there, and getting it done, because you need to teach other people. This needs to be out there, because that was what you're here to do. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
here today.
What do you say to people that think that they get nervous about making a financial investment or a time investment into a hypnotherapist because they're afraid it's not going to work?
They're not ready, right? So there's the four things. It's like, I will say to people, you go away and you think about this, and when you're ready, give me a call. But think about these things. Do you trust me? If you don't trust me, don't come. If you don't trust any hypnotherapist, just get up and say, look, I'm feeling uncomfortable, so let's call it quits. If you trust me, if you want to be there more than you want to be here, right? And they all know what we're going to do down there, because we talk about this, then I will be here for you, and we'll do it. So it's not about they think hypnosis won't work. It's about whether they're ready to let go of their stuff. And understanding the pathway that I do is like, so if you don't trust it's going to work, you're not trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you ever hypnotize somebody to get them to the point where they would trust themselves to work with it, because they're just still blocked?
No.
What do you think it is for people? Like, when does it have to get so bad that they just trust themselves that it's going to work with you? What do you think, in your experience, is the difference between someone that ultimately makes the decision to trust themselves versus somebody that still isn't there?
So it's not even about trusting themselves. It's actually about being ready. And the thing that I find, working with animals as opposed to humans, is that humans are the only animal that love their drama, right? We hold on to it for some reason. The girl at the party, it's maybe she just doesn't want to have a boyfriend, right? But instead of sort of saying, "No, sorry, you're not my type," she ends up having this great outburst of like, all men are this and you're that, and it's her crown girl. You don't understand, because when I was 12, so instead of being able to sort of say, no, you know what, you're not my type, sorry. She's got this whole thing that works for her. So we hold our drama, we wear it like a crown, right? So I often say to clients, that are sort of coming in not knowing what they're doing, and I can see, you can tell very quickly when people have secondary gains that, they want to come so that they can go away and say, oh, I couldn't get hypnotized, right? You have people saying this, and you talk to them about, oh, sorry, I've got dogs here climbing around there. So, and I'm just going to check the plug on the computer. I've just got to check the plug on the computer because I think someone's just undone it. Okay, so that's in. Yes, they'd half undone it. Okay, so hi, Jenny, how are you? So, where was I? Sorry, Greg,
Oh, you were talking about the trauma when people go and they're man haters and they're,
yeah. So it's a secondary gains thing.
Secondary gains, yeah.
Yes. So I wrote this little book, and it's called The Pond of Poo. So instead of saying to people, you know what, I think you actually love your trauma, and I think that's really where you are, and until you're ready to not embrace it and not sort of go, but you don't understand, I was a victim, that's why I'm not successful. This is your crown. So I have this story, and it's about, there was a field, and a healer was walking across the field and heard this crying and screaming, and looked over, and there was a person in a pond, and they were drowning in the pond, and they're going, help, help, I'm drowning in this pond. Please come and, save me. And the healer sort of walked over the side of the pond and said, oh, are you okay? And they said, look, yeah, swim over to the side, take my hand, and I can pull you out just like that. And the person's going, no, you have to hop in here with me because, my crown's in here and I have to find it. And the healer's going, no, I'm not hopping in there, but just swim over to the side and I'll pull you out, right? And then we can travel on our way. And they go, no, you don't know, this is my crown. And it's got all of my jewels in it. It's everything that I am is in this crown, and it's in here. And you have to come and help me find it. And the healer's saying, no, look, I'm sorry. But you know what, when you're ready, swim over the side, and just like that, I'll pull you out. So the person's crying and wailing and saying, what sort of healer are you? I've had other healers that came and helped me, and you're just a bad healer because you won't come in here and help me. And the healer stood there and said, well, where are those other healers now? And the person said, well, some drowned because I had to stand on them to keep my head above water, and others just, they couldn't stay afloat. But you're stronger, so come in and help me. And the healer said, no, but when you're ready, swim to the side and I'll pull you out. And the person was crying and wailing, said, it's getting dark, I'm going to freeze in here if you don't come in here and help me find my crown. So the healer said, you do realize that you're swimming in a pond of poo, right? And I won't be climbing in there with you. But when you're ready, just swim over the side, take my hand, I'll pull you out. And for your crown, there's a village over the top of that hill. We can go over there and make you a beautiful new crown. My shout. I said, no, you don't understand. This is my crown, and you're just the worst healer ever, and it's getting dark, and I'm going to die in here, and it's your fault, and you're just a really bad person. And the healer said, well, you know what to do, but look, I can rest here for tonight. I'm going to light a fire because it is getting cold. And you know what? You may well die in there and drown in there. But, if you get to a point that you're ready, I've got the fire lit here. It's nice and warm. And just swim over and I'll pull you out, poo and all. And you can sit in front of the fire and dry off, all the poo can fall off. And in the morning, we can go in the sunshine and make you a new crown in the next village. The person cried and wailed all night. And just before dawn, when it's the coldest hour, the person said, fine, I'm ready. And they swam over the side. And the healer pulled them out. And they sat together by the fire. And the fire dried off all the poo, and the poo just fell away. And as the sun came up, they were walking together through the grass over the horizon to the next village. And then the sunlight lit on something, and the person looked, and they, oh, Oh, look, there's my crown there. It was never in the pond of poo at all. And they continued on in their life. So this is the story of, we swim in a self-made pond of poo, and we don't have to. But we pull others in, we do backstroke in there and go, look what I can do in my poo. I can do this, and look, this is I can make a crown out of it. And the healer's saying, look, it's a crown, but it's a crown of poo, right? So, people take on all of these thoughts and things, and this is how they hold their drama in their life. And it's really so simple. So, they can do different courses and pay thousands of dollars to go and do something that sort of, looks at all of the crown of poo and how it could be jewels if they really, imagined it to be jewels. Or they could climb out like that. And that's what this work does. It takes them down to that place where they get the same learning and counseling and self-growth that I did, of going, here it is, it's simple. With PTSD, the triggers that go down there, it takes them back to the triggers that do that. Okay, from now on, when you have that trigger, this is what you'll do. So I went to a farm to work on a horse, and the owner was there, and his wife, and he said the horse hates him. So I just went down, and the horse just freely came with me, and they're like, and I'm working with the horse, and I understood from the horse that the owner was, he had PTSD. So I said to the farmer, I said, have you got PTSD? And he goes, yeah, how do you know, why? And I said, oh, just, and so anyway, I ended up treating the husband as well. And the husband and wife talked to me, and she said, yeah, look, we're actually just, we're just going through the stages of separating. His anger and rage around here with the kids is, it's not cool. Even the animals won't respond to him. So, really the horse isn't angry. He's just defending himself, right? And so I treated this guy, and I called him about 3 months later, or he called me, one or the other, I can never remember, but I said to him, I've been wondering how you're going, like, how are you going? And he said, well, it's really amazing. He said, my work's going great. He said, my staff were about to do the walkout, and they didn't walk out. They stayed there. And he said, I'm getting a lot more book work done. Work's just flowing. He said, family's great. He said, I'm spending a lot more time with the horses. He said, the horse is just amazing with me now. He's like my best buddy. And he said, I'll go down there. I just have beer with the horses in the evening, or, coffee, and it's going great. And I said, fantastic. And I said, do you remember what you did in your hypnosis? And he's like, yeah, some of it. And I said, so we put in place with your first trigger, whenever that trigger comes, which is the trigger for the trigger for the trigger before the explosion, you will just take 3 deep breaths, and you'll excuse yourself. And if you're in the workplace, you'll just excuse yourself, and you'll go to your car, and you'll sit quietly for 10 minutes or 20 minutes while your brain resets itself. Because you remember that this is the brain warning you that this overload, we have to shut you down now, and it will shut you down and take you to that state. So that was the trigger for that. When you're at home, you're going to quietly stand amongst the horses, because they are non-judgmental. You just take a coffee and have the horses, and just you'll gather yourself back in there. And he's like, that's exactly what I do. And it worked, right? So it saved his whole world simply by dealing with that trigger. He didn't need to talk to me about his PTSD. I didn't even know why he got the PTSD. We just went straight in, because he'd been going to psychologist for about 5 years by then. So I said, well, I don't need to be a voyeur into your life. Let's just deal with the triggers. And that's what we did, right? And this is why my work is so useful for things like emergency workers and soldiers and things, because men don't want to bleed on the table, and especially to a woman. So how did you feel when you walked in that caravan and saw the scene? Really? And they don't need
Yeah.
it, because this is actually about the triggers.
So would you say you work content free a lot of the time?
Yeah. I don't need to be a voyeur into your life, right? You just need to know that you are swimming to the side, and you just want to get out. And so you get yourself out. I'm there. I'm the the guide. You've got the car. I've got the keys. I know the way down. I'll take you down there, and I'll hold space while you heal yourself. And I have these proven systems that are able to capture that, get it done and get it out there. It doesn't take 10 years, it doesn't take, people go to book hypno sessions with people and I'll say, yeah, just one session. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And they're going, oh, well, I've had 3 quotes and, one's I've got a book for 12 month sessions and one I got a book for, 6 sessions at $500 each and, pay it off. And I'm like, well, you're just going to do it in one. If you don't do it in one, come back and we'll work on it. But, that's it's not about longevity of client. If you're not fixing something, you're not fixing something. You don't half iron a coat, right? You don't half iron your pants. You're either going in to do that work, you're either climbing out of the pond or you're in the pond. And so my job is to just hold space at the side, take your hand and go, let's go. They've shown me through my own experience how to nip those triggers in the bud. So to me, PTSD, with soldiers here, like they're having this big thing now. There's so many soldiers committing suicide, and I know what it is. It's the triggers. No matter what medication they give you so that you don't feel the triggers, but you just don't feel anything, right? So I have soldiers going, I know I love my kids, I know I love my kids, but I can't feel anything. I hold them and there's nothing. And I'm like, yeah, that's your safety zone, right? So going down and simply cleaning up those triggers is the key. We all know that bad stuff happens. That's not going to change. That's not going to happen here. So, we'll go down and we'll sort of say, we'll go into an engine room, after we've done these triggers, we'll go into the engine room and we'll sort of, see things that are on and they'll fix them up and we'll sort of look at things and say, your brain keeps you safe when you are in a zone, but you now know that you're not in Afghanistan, and when you need it, your adrenaline will pump back on and keep you safe. So that's not going to go away. But for the meantime, when you drive past that pile of rubbish on the side of the street, it's not hiding a bomb. And so your brain can be here in Australia with your family and your loved ones and come back into the room. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, it's very amazing work, and it's a shame to me that people don't know that hypnosis is as effective as it is. I think a lot of comes down to there are a lot of myths about it. What about this? What about someone that says to you, well, do I lose control when I'm in hypnosis? What is your answer to that? I bet you have an interesting take on that.
Of course not. One of the boys during his thesis brought on stage or took on stage a stripper, and he put her down into a deep somnambulistic hypnosis, and then he asked her to strip and she refused. So then he demanded she strip and she refused, and he commanded she strip and she refused. So he brought her back up, and on that stage he said, why, you are a stripper for a job, you don't have any problem with taking your clothes off in public, but I was commanding you to do this under there, and you refused under hypnosis to do this. And she looked at him and she said, well, I don't do it for fucking free, do I? Right? He hadn't paid her. So her brain's like, no, that's right. So we don't do anything that we don't want to do there, right? You can pop out at any moment. It's like being in a daydream. It's not anything that is going to, people sort of a lot of things that people say are, am I going to reveal all my secrets to you? And it's like, no, because I'm not looking. And even if I asked you, tell me your deep dark secrets, you'd just say, oh, naff off, and you'd snap out of it and say, I'm out of here, right? And punch me in the face. Like, you will never do anything that you don't want to do it down there.
Yeah. What do you think? I mean, is your work, Anjii, do you care about the popularization of this? Do you think there is a way that hypnosis can become more mainstream? I'm curious what your take on that is.
I think hypnotherapists need to understand life more, and the body and the brain. And, I've seen so many hypnotherapists that, like I'm on pages of hypnotherapists, and everyone's going, hey, has anyone got a script for this? Has anyone got it? And they're all, yeah, I've made some new scripts on here. And it's like, oh my God, no one is working intuitively with the person. They're not there facing the person. They're there facing a piece of paper and going, you will, you know.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
someone goes for frigidity, right? A woman goes for frigidity. And, she's there and she's loved her husband for 22 years. They've been a fantastic couple. And, just the last 2 years, she's just got worse and worse, but now she can't bear him touching her. And she doesn't understand why, because she really loves him, right? So, going to a normal hypnotherapist, they would be like, oh, yes, we can fix that. That's just, your age, you're in your 40s now. So, we'll go down. So you go down, they go, and when your husband reaches for you, you will imagine a nice, juicy steak. And you're looking forward to eating that steak. And you feel that in your body, right? That's what they do on these scripts. For me, I say, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to your question, but you do. So let's just go down there. So we go down. I go, go and stand inside your frigidity. And when you get there, you'll let me know. She goes, so I'm here. I go, okay. Go back to the moment that you decided to, have your husband revile you. And she went back to being on an operating table. And I spoke to Andrew Davison about this, who's a surgeon that was doing myosin cancer. And I said, she went back to being on an operating table, getting a cervical operation. She's under anesthetic. And the doctor is making jokes about her bits. And she can clearly hear him say to the nurses, oh, gonna need tent pegs for this one. And 2 years later, it came out in her body. She felt so ugly that her husband couldn't possibly want that, and her disposition of that was the cause of it, right? Could not have got that in any script or class or positive thinking, right? It's like, oh, there it is. Right. So we're able to say, well, you know what? So, doctors do 50 these a day. They've been a surgeon for 20 years. So, they must get to this point where they're just numb and tapping time. And, does your husband still love you? Oh, he loves me. He thinks I'm like sexy and gorgeous. And it's like, okay, so we were able to go in and pull that out. That doesn't belong here. Right. And she was able to heal that. And she went home to like, oh my God, I got turned on for the first time in 2 years, These things, I know that everyone that's had trauma holds some kind of, trauma like that in their body, can do all the positive thinking we want. But unless we actually go down there and have the ability to have, someone guide us down to the right place and ask the right questions, even asking the question, how do I fix this? They'll hear something. They'll find those answers in their body or around them. So that's how it works. Yes, sure.
Does the client even have to be hypnotized? Can you some people can't teach hypnotism, or maybe some clients can't be hypnotized. Can you bring this out?
I've never met a client that can't be hypnotized. I've met a client that can't be hypnotized
or doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
But
so there's four things.
Can you get the same result?
No.
Okay.
Because you're reaching down beyond this conscious mind, right?
Okay.
You have to deal with the deeper mind, the unconscious mind, and you cannot access it through this door.
Right? They're not just going to access that without. Yeah. Okay.
No, not at all. It's so deep. It's like going through the veil, right, to do their work and then coming back. You can't do that here. I can imagine going through the veil as much as I want, but it's not going to happen. Yeah. Okay. Does that make sense? And, look, as far as, some people can't be hypnotized. I had a young guy, I was actually at a party, and a young guy came up and there's a girl hypnotherapist, you're all crap. He said, my auntie's one of the most famous hypnotists in the world and she can't hypnotize me. And I'm like, oh, rightio, good on you. And he went away and he came back and he was just being really, and I said, look, did you like your auntie? He goes, oh, no, I hate her. She's a, bitch. And I said, oh, well, there you go. And I left it that. He just kept coming. He was now, anyway, he ended up sort of going, what is this? And I said, well, there's the 4 things. There's the 4 reasons to go into hypnosis. And you didn't pass the first one. You don't trust your auntie. So why would you go into hypnosis for her? And it made so much sense to him. So the rest of that day, he just kept coming back at this barbecue at me saying, please, I need to know. Please, I need to know, because I've always thought that I couldn't. And so, look, I went to a room and I said, well, do you trust me? And he said, you know what, I do. And I said, you want to be there more than here? And he said, yeah, I want to know that I can actually, do this therapy, right? I'm like, great. And so I told him what we're going to do down there. And I said, listen to the sound of my voice and you'll go there. And I just talked to him and I said, just feel yourself going down. You're going down, 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 10, 9, 8, deeper, deeper, 3 deaths. And he was there. And, I took him for a swim in a pond over there and brought him back. And he was so amazed. So it's, you'll go into hypnosis if you want to. And it's people that don't want to. I've had a client that came to me, and I could see very early in the piece that he had secondary gains to be made. He wanted to be able to say, I've tried everything and it didn't work for me, even hypnosis. And I was literally saying to him, look, I'm not the person for you to be working with. I think you need to find someone that's, closer to you. And he's like, no, I want to do this. And I'm like, your money. And then I ended up saying, look, last call, I'm just going to mute that. Last call, you can either walk away now or pay me. And, we'll put you in hypnosis. Yeah, I'm doing it. I was like, okay. And so I'm taking him down and as I'm talking to him about, your eyes are getting heavy. And then I could see him going and forcing them open, right? And I'm like, and here we go, right? And I'm like, and they're getting very heavy and dry and itchy. And he's like, so I'm like, right. And so I changed my tempo. And I'm like, yeah, that's so good. That's so good. You're so in control. You're so in control. You're so in control. Keeping your eyes open. It's amazing. You're just so good at keeping your eyes open. It's so good. You are in control of this. You're so in control. Even though they're so hot and sticky and itchy, you just want to close them. And you're so in control and you do whatever you want to do. And he was so deep under. He just went like straight down. So that's,
wow.
That you can take people to that place. But, when we were down there, I said to him in his hypnosis, I said, so, have you been truthful with me today? And he said, no. And I said, so, is there any point in lying to me and being untruthful with me? And he goes, no. And I said, so do you want to start being honest from now on? He's like, yeah. Okay. So when I brought him back up, he opened his eyes and he goes, oh, well, that was interesting. And I said, how'd you go down there? And he goes, oh, I didn't see anything, just black. And I said, oh, okay. I said, how long were you down there for? And he goes, oh, 10 minutes. And I'm like, no, 2.5 hours. And he went,
wow.
And I started thinking, oh my God, what do I say, right? But he was aware of the whole thing, but he was just like, and so because I'd put that thing in about being honest with me, I was just able there to go, so just be honest with me and tell me, how the experience was. And then it just started coming in, just go, oh my God, and I did this live and I did that. Yeah, it was truly amazing. He's the one that had the horse staring at him. So, whether they make change or whether they're here for another reason, you can take them to those places, but he would never say anything he didn't want to say, right? And the only reason people don't remember what happens in hypnosis is because the hypnotist on the way back up says to them, and as you come up, you'll forget everything that we've talked about. And to me, it's like, it's so important that you will remember everything we talked about today, because this is your self-re-empowerment, and you will recall this and you will retain this for the rest of your life, and you will feel it on every level of your body, and you'll make change on every level of your body and your thinking. You will forget to remember about your trauma, and you'll remember to forget.
I would either just fall asleep, or if they would ask me questions, there's no way I could answer them and not be conscious. It would be like if you were asking me.
Have you been hypnotized before?
I've
Clearly
tried.
Not. Okay, you've tried.
Yeah, but I've tried, and I don't know why it won't happen. But
yeah, well, you have to think about that. What's holding you out? Did you trust the person?
I thought I did. I've tried multiple people, and
okay. Okay. I've been to other hypnotherapists, and I was like, no. I'm sure Greg experiences it a lot.
Yeah, I'm curious what you think. I think there's some people that naturally just go into it more. I also think there is something about I think certain people can be hypnotized by certain people in specific contexts more than others. Depending on the hypnotist's skill
Yeah.
that up until that point, depending on where the person's at that day. The interesting thing is, and this is why, as somebody, and I talk about hypnosis all the time in my show, I've always said, don't trust the Stanford research studies where they played the same, like you were saying at the beginning, Angie, played the same script over and over and then got results on who's more likely to go into trance, because that's assuming that hearing a script over and over is going to get results with somebody. And that's just not you. What you do is you're working with the person, and depending on your ability to interact, it's Stephen Gilligan, who studies Ericksonian hypnosis too, talks about the cooperative principle of trance, working with the person. It's a co-creative trance rather than just reading something and responding. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what do you think they give you a CD to take home and listen to? Is that like so counterintuitive to the whole process? Now here, take this home.
Look, a lot
do
of
you
those...
do that, Angie? Do you ever send the CD home with people after you've worked with them? That's the only context I imagine you might do that.
I don't often hear from them again for a few months, because they're just like, oh yeah, I forgot to ring you. Like, everything's amazing. So I've never had...
It works. It works when she does it. That's why.
Yeah, they don't need to be reminded, because they've done their work and they remember it. And look, I'm not being a tosser with that. I'm just saying that's the thing so far. I haven't had anyone come back and say, I want my money back, or I've had people come back and say, that was amazing. Now I've got this other issue I want to do a session on. It's great. They're like, you get rid of one, the next one comes up for healing. And, it's a beautiful thing. So no, I don't do tapes. I do like meditation things. I do my son was saying to me, God, I keep listening to these, things to go to sleep, and they've got them for the kids and that. And he said, but every time I hear one, I think, oh, Mum could kick that one's butt. And he said, you have to do one, you have to do one. I'm like, oh, do one for me and the kids. So I did one. It's just a whisper meditation for busy parents, right? And I said, how'd you go? Because I don't know, I was asleep in 15 minutes. And I'm like, oh, great. Because he said, the day goes, they work, and you think, okay, get the kids, 9:30, you're up in bed, you kind of go, oh, and then you go, and you think about all the things. So it works. I've had people say it works on their dogs. They had to turn it off because their dogs were snoring so loudly. So, I do things like that, but I don't think you need to follow up on reminders. You can remember them anytime you choose. That's just me personally. I would do it if someone asked, but just haven't had to, Greg.
It's so interesting that you haven't actually had to ever record a CD. By the way, now that we are in hour two, little into hour two, feel free if anybody here has questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, or if you want to come off mic and speak, Angie will address you directly.
Sorry, I have to pick up a little boy that's a bit, he's been patting on my leg for the last 10 minutes. Like,
oh my gosh,
I need
adorable.
A hug. Yeah. You say hello. Hello. Hello.
endless questions you could have about hypnosis. There's so many. Do you do PTSD and healing trauma release. Have people come to you for smoking or any other weight loss, stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't had anyone come back for smoking either, but I smoke, right? You have to be ready to let go of smoking. Do you know what I mean? And when you're ready, so this isn't a magic pill. So for smoking, it's like when you're ready, So again, here, a lot of the norms are, they go, and, that when you smell the smell of smoke, it will just be so disgusted. It'll be so, I have people coming to me that did hypno for smoking previously and it didn't work. And I'm like, well, I don't know why it didn't work. Why don't we go down and you can ask that yourself. So we'll go down there and I'll say, just ask, go back to your last session and ask why it didn't work. One woman said, because he's saying my angels will come and watch over me. And I'm going, okay, what's the issue with that? And she goes, I'm an atheist. I'm like, okay, we'll just do that.
Right.
So he automatically, had her down there going, this is BS. Someone else said, yeah, he makes the smell want to make me vomit. And I said, how's that working with you? How's it going with, you've got friends that smoke? And he said, yeah. I said, how's it go? He said, I can't stand being near them. I said, can you go down, to the pub for dinner with the family? He said, no, I can't. I said, so you will override that to be with your family, right? So why are people making, it's so disgusting, you hate the smell, it'll just make you want to vomit and how to make someone lose all their friends, how to make someone never want to go out in public, right? How to make someone just like angry and nasty at the other side of smoking. So it's like when women are, a woman in their 50s and you're working in an office and they're sitting there at morning tea, counting how many leaves of lettuce they can have for their calorie count for lunch and, with the teaspoon of tuna. They're so fixated on the calories in that, but they're actually so fixated on their weight that they override anything they're doing. So with smoking, the way I work with smoking is like, you don't need to smoke. Why do you smoke? And, they'll have their things and they'll say, you know what, it's a safety zone between me and the rest of the world. Okay, so let's go down there. You have other people, that have their reasons. But to me, it's like, well, imagine if you never smoked. Let's have a look at that. Imagine what you'd be like if you never smoked. Like, let's first of all have a look at where you're going to go if you smoke. Let's see your body in 10 years, go forward and go through that. And then let's see your body if you didn't smoke, if you never smoked. And they're like, oh, yeah, that feels good. And I'm like, so imagine if you just never smoke. Imagine if it just doesn't even cross your mind anymore. Like it doesn't exist. Why would it exist? If you hadn't been smoking, they're like, yeah. And I say, so you can sit in a car with people that's smoking, it's not a thing. It's not there. It no longer exists for you because it's no longer important to your survival. And that's the key to hypnosis, right? It's no longer important to your survival.
Yeah.
So these people,
for sure.
Yeah, these people tell me, sitting in a car, didn't even realize, my uncle was smoking, didn't realize, they forget to remember to smoke. They remember to forget. It doesn't exist. When you fixate them on something else about that thing, they're still fixated on it. So to me, it's pointless. It's an illogical way to treat something is to have them fixated on the, losing weight. You love the taste of water. You love lettuce. Lettuce. You love running. No, I don't. But that's what they do. To me, it's like, well, how long have you had the weight on? 2 years. Has anything changed in your life or your diet, your life? So no, nothing's changed. I'm I just do the same. Okay, so what do you think it is? I don't know. Well, let's go down and have a look. Go and stand inside the weight that you're carrying. Okay, go back to the moment that your body decided to change the way it's working and hold that weight on you. She's back into a rape scene. She went on a hairdresser's do in Sydney and some guy drugged her in a bar and had his way with her. And her self-protection, she's down there, is going, I decided that I will never let that happen to me again. And in order to not let that happen, I need to not be beautiful. And in order to not be beautiful, I'm going to put on weight. And so her body just automatically saved her life. So we were able to go in there and change that around. Right? That's not lettuce tastes amazing and you love running. That's like, what's your thing with this? So many traumatized people are overweight because they are defending themselves. Their body is working to keep them safe and alive, as far as it's concerned. Sorry, someone had a question, yeah?
Hi, this is Rebecca Jenkins.
Hi, Rebecca.
Rebecca.
Hi. Kelly got me hooked up with this.
Oh, yes,
Kelly,
you're deaf. Yes.
I'm the one that she just done the podcast with domestic
Beautiful.
violence and murder.
Yeah.
My trauma took me the other way around. I've lost 100 pounds.
Right.
And I still want to think about it some more and talk about it with Kelly, because like you said, you got to be ready
Absolutely
to do something, and you got to be ready to help yourself.
Yes.
In which, I'm trying everything with my PTSD.
Yes.
I have studied my body and learned my body, because I've always been a person that has to have control of my surroundings, because I have OCD. But I've taught my body to let me know when I'm going to black out, sometimes even a couple days ahead of time.
Yeah.
But I will come back to you, and I will one day, and it ain't going to be right away, but I want you to hypnotize me. But I still got to work through some of the stuff. It's been a year.
Mm-hmm.
And Kellyanne, she's wonderful.
She is. She's lovely. Love Kellyanne.
Yes. And when she first sent this to me,
Kellyanne's in California, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
We done a podcast, and it's on there on her thing. I think she put me under Becky Bell, which I love. That was my maiden name. But I was in therapy before this happened, but I'm at the point now that they've done to realize that the traumatic experience I had is not going to go away.
Mm-hmm.
I will live with it. Yeah. And my PTSD, I either black out and go down. I mean, I'm not used to that. First time
I wasn't
happened,
either. When it happened to me, I wasn't either. Yeah.
My friend, we'd come home from the store, and she's like, Becky, just lean up again. I don't know what she's seeing in my face, but I remember us being down the road at a little supermarket, and my eyesight changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought maybe it was just the heat or whatever. Well, next thing I know, the other neighbor was picking me up off the ground.
Yeah.
I fractured my ankle over it. But the other thing I do with my PTSD is I go into my own little world when things get too stressful.
Yep.
And if you're not around me, you'd never know until I come out. I can go into it for 2 or 3 days. I've lost almost 4 days at one time.
Yeah.
And thank goodness, my therapist said, she said, Becky, thank goodness you go into one to where you are being protected. You're not out here vengeful, wanting to hurt someone.
Yeah.
You can go either way. Nobody's PTSD is the same.
That's right. That's right.
And if you know anybody, let them know about the interview, because they'll learn a lot. And I'm going to go back on with her. And I'm getting ready to start my son's thing called Adam's Voice. But I do, yes, I still want to face some of this.
Yeah.
I don't.
So ask yourself. So in the meantime, when you're ready, you will get hold of me and you will do this, because you now know.
Because I trust you. Yes. Listening to you and what you're saying. Yes. And the script thing that you're talking about. Yes. Oh my God. Why would I would trust you with my life? I would let you. You got to be able to let that person into your mind, and take over.
Absolutely.
And I know eventually, now that they've told me that my trauma is never going to go away. That when I'm done trying to heal myself, I want it gone.
So,
My son would want.
so between now and then, I want you to look at why you were studying it and why you want to continue studying it until you've had enough of studying it. Do you want to study it out here and keep looking at, because how long ago did it happen? Like, how long have you been in therapy?
I've been in therapy for like 8 years. I went in therapy when my brother lost his only child.
Yeah. Okay.
This year happened last year on Good Friday on April 10th.
Okay. All right. So what I need to do, we've got a time frame, but we will talk afterwards. For now, it's incredible. And I think that everyone here, like my sister Jenny that's here today, she suffered terrible PTSD all through her life too. And there comes a day when you just go, you know what, I'm ready to let it go. So for now, you want to study it some more, and then you'll be ready to let it go.
Right. It isn't like I really don't, I don't want to call it studying.
Yeah.
But there's just a few things that I want to talk to you about later on.
Yep, for sure.
Questions that I have. And if you don't know how to get a hold of me or something or whatever else,
you can go to
minutes.
Yeah. So you can go to my Anjii Bryers Biofield therapy page and message me from there, and we can touch base and have a chat. But,
because there's a couple questions I have, and they're normal questions that probably anybody would have.
So what's your question?
My question is, after I'm hypnotized and this trauma is taken out of my mind, I'm scared of losing anything that has to do with my son.
Okay, so you won't. That will not happen. So if somebody was hypnotizing you and saying your mind goes blank and it all goes away, that's okay. But with your son, so I've had women with PTSD. I was actually talking about this with my sister last night, a woman whose son came forward who had passed. And he said to her, I want you to keep remembering how amazing I was, because I was friggin' amazing. But you keep concentrating on that 10 minutes of my life that ended it. And that has to stop. You have to concentrate on him. Sorry?
Adam was an amazing.
Yeah. So you won't forget that, but you will put it in the right context. And so that's what's happened. So don't be afraid of losing that. So that's what's holding you out. I was wondering, when you first started talking, first thing you said, I was like, I'm not ready for this, but one day I will be. And so the question is, why am I not ready? And there it came, right? I'm terrified I'll lose memory of my son. It's like, okay, you won't lose memory of your son. You may. So when you work with PTSD and say, I will never forget what happened to me. But now it's not here, and it's not in my face, and it's not all over me. It's a forest in the distance. It's like, I walked that forest once.
Yeah. The flashbacks.
The flashbacks are the triggers. Yeah. So the flashbacks are the triggers. That's what we work on. But the memories.
My triggers. Yes.
Yeah. So but the memories will be there, but they will just be softened in a way in the distance, and they won't be affecting your very existence. Your memories of your son and the joy that you had together will be amazing. And you may very, very well have a conversation with him down there. Many people do.
He's with me every day.
Okay.
But I was, I won't take up no more of your time, but you'll understand when you talk to me more.
Absolutely. I do understand.
After he was shot, I jumped over to him.
Yeah.
And my son there was nothing wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't see none of that.
Yeah.
And I don't remember a lot from that day, and I don't want to.
That's right. So that is what we'll work on, but you won't.
Right.
So you have stated that your greatest fear is losing the memory of your son. That will not happen. So you can take that off the table now, and that will take you that step closer to being ready to move on with your life. And I am so sure that he is there going, Mum, live for both of us.
Oh, I already know
have some
he is.
adventures for both of us. So it's time to do
He's
it.
here
So
every
when you're
day,
ready,
yes.
when you're ready, you'll do it, and you'll just swim over the side and you'll climb out and you'll walk with him over the horizon. So I hope that's helped you a little bit, and we can have a conversation. Beautiful. Mwah. Bless you.
I love you. Oh,
love you too.
Thank you for the work that you guys do.
You're welcome. You're more than welcome.
I wish more minds would be more open to everything and what mental illness is about.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
Adam's World that I'm going to do, I'm going to go over all different subjects with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
And
beautiful.
I want to help people.
So it's time to do that. So you're telling me that you're ready. You're telling me you've taken that off the table. If you look now, if you still say now, okay, well, I'm not, one day I'll be ready. If you're still looking now, I want you to look at the table and see what the next thing is that's holding you out. And do exactly
I'm ready because
here. All right.
I don't like the feeling because my triggers come from the stupidest little things sometimes.
Yep. Look, we all have amazing triggers, and we'll deal with that there.
Yes, and I'm tired of when I go to do something, or if I'm in the kitchen like I was a little bit ago, putting groceries away, and I have to stop, and I'm like, people know now. I go, oh God, I know I'm going down. Just putting the groceries away.
Yep, absolutely. And this is what I'm talking about, and this is what I'm here to do. Is walk with people like you.
That I'm
absolutely
ready.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that was what I wanted.
Yeah, I do it virtually. I didn't do it virtually, so I used to only do it in person, and that's simply because of the old school training of when you are when you are with a person, there's certain physical things that you're always looking for as a therapist. You're looking at their nails, you're looking at their atavistic, you're checking things on their body. And I thought, I can't possibly do this by distance. But there just came an emergency during COVID, and someone said, look, you've got to do this. And he's a hypnotherapist, so he said, look, I'll stand with my wife, and I'll hold space here, and if anything goes, and it went amazingly. And so that was the thing of like, do it this way, right? This is the new norm. And sorry.
Just reach you on your web. How did you schedule?
So just go to Anjii Bryers Biofield Therapy and just message me directly through there, so that everything's on the same platform. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, that person was saying on WhatsApp, or was it a phone call, or was it what was it, that messenger, was it that messenger? If I keep everyone to the Biofield page, then I can go to it, and everyone that I'm working with that is there, and everyone I'm working with dogs is there. And so I've sort of got some kind of organization in my messy old lady mind. So
you're not an old lady. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's so great that you're willing to do that.
Oh, absolutely. And I know exactly where Rebecca is, because I was there, and there was no one, and I was there in the darkness, and I was sitting in my car, and I'm driving out. I was so broken, and I didn't know what to do, and my son needed me, and I couldn't think, I couldn't function. I just wanted to drive into a brick wall. I was like, I know that's the closest I've come. And then and then my son's face flashed in front of me, and I snapped out of it. And that's when I was like, this has to change. This has to change. This medication, these doctors, this stupid repeating it and swimming around in that pond of poo, and they're all climbing there with me going, oh, look at this bit of poo. You know what about this bit of poo? And I'm like, I just want to get out of here.
I found therapy to be worthless, just worthless.
Yeah. That's when I took my strength and I did that. And hypnosis is like an injection of vitamin B's in the arm. You can take a packet of them for 3 months and you'll start feeling some change. You can get an injection and you're walking out of there going, oh, I'm back.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Now I can fill this space with everything, all of the good things. What was I planned? I'm planned to make Adam's page. I planned to do this, and now you start doing it, and then you feel them walking with you, and then your strength is back, and it's like that. That's how powerful we are inside. It's
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's the thing. It's
Can't wait.
actually it's about change. It's actually you're going in because you want a specific result.
Absolutely.
And to add on to your question, Daniel, most of the hypnotists that I've talked to and dealt with on my show and just over the past COVID season, they're all virtual now. There are so few people doing it I mean, unless it's open restrictions, but yes, it is entirely moved from what I can tell to online only sessions. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, look, I very appreciative that Rebecca, you shared that with us. I appreciate your vulnerability and your willingness to open up and address stuff like this. I was going to say what was interesting is that also to go back to Daniel's point earlier, I would argue that conversation that you just had with Rebecca, Anjii, was a light conversational hypnosis session. Like maybe you didn't take her fully deeply down into the place where the work is, but you in a conversation went from her starting with saying, I don't know about this, to by the end, she seems, from what you can tell, more optimistic about this kind of work.
I mean, she found the trigger. Or her son. I mean and
right.
She wasn't under hypnosis.
Yeah. So I would say you are doing a little bit of that. It doesn't require. Maybe you're not consciously aware of it, but you are, maybe, or that's just your therapeutic skills. What would you give to?
So that's
credit
just
would you give yourself?
So psychotherapy is the basis of psychotherapy is the understanding that the answers all come out from within, right? So my job is not to say to people, oh, you know what, I think you've got label 73291. And so you can wear that. And I'm going, oh, well, I can be a bitch because I've got label 734291.
Right.
So whatever.
What she done is she did trigger and open me up to realize what I don't want to feel no more.
And that's just simply by asking the question. So it wasn't hypnosis. It was just sort of like, I'm listening to her and I'm just asking her to go back that level from what she said, and then back that level. And then she got to the answer, which was the trigger. The trigger is, I don't want to lose the memories of my son. And there it is.
Yeah.
So that's not hypnosis.
And I want to lose the effects that this has done to my life for the past year. And I know Adam wants me to go on. And in order for me to go on and really strive at helping others, I've got to do this.
That's right. Because you've got to climb out of that pond.
Down. Yeah. It's going to take me down.
You didn't know it was a pond until now.
No, I love how you describe the shit pond, because it's like poo all over you. And a lot of people don't get my life right now.
Yep, absolutely.
A lot of people don't. And I found on Instagram that is one of the best resources there is for any kind of problem, because it's more open. It's more real that, hey, somebody has gone through this, Becky. And everybody, and just like with Kellyanne set me up with you, I was at a grocery store a while ago and my timer went off and I'm like, oh, I got to get out of here. It's going to be on, I didn't know what I was coming into. And no, I didn't read up on it because sometimes I do, but I just wanted to come in with an open mind.
Great.
And, but I want to thank you. And, but yes, she did get me to realize just by that one question that she asked me. And it is, I cannot, my son was so amazing. And, but I want to thank you guys again. And
you're more than welcome. You see, your crown was under the water, right?
Yeah.
And all I've done is gone, oh, your crown, is that what you're looking for? There it is. And you just gone, oh, there it is. So here we are. You've completed that story.
My son wants my crown back on.
Absolutely,
Because
he does.
my son,
Absolutely does.
My son defended me that day.
Yep. Yep.
And he took his life to save mine.
Yep. And you know what? He will feel honored. Right?
He's a good boy. He's happy.
Yeah.
He's a good boy.
He will be honored. And he will be far more excited at you rising up and living it for them. And you know, everything that you've had these dreams to do, you're actually ready now to go and do them. So
and I think it'll be an awesome thing, because I think he'll even make sure that you feel him when you're doing it.
Yep, for sure. Look, I often am seeing what my client is experiencing a split second before they say it. So I'm, you know, that often happens.
And my son is very visual in this house.
Yeah,
of course, I sat down and I talked to him, and I told him when I first moved back in, I said, Bub, you know, you can't come to me as a full figure. I said, because I can't handle you leaving. I said, remember what I told Janetta, come to me in a shadow.
Beautiful.
And he does. And there's people come here and have seen him and they love it.
Yeah. Beautiful. So that won't change. So, you know, if you have a fear of that changing, that won't change. It'll actually be more. But it won't change. This doesn't affect that at all. But what it does is it actually opens you up more to hearing and sensing and seeing. So you're getting rid of all of the stuff that's between you and that. And so you will hear far more clearly.
And at his funeral, I had two different people tell me the same exact story about that they seen him in the funeral home standing back behind me against the wall. And he was smiling at them to more or less let them know. And the one girl, I know she did, because he knows her very well. And it was like, she said, Becky, he wanted me to reassure you that he's okay.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today. It's just been amazing.
Anytime. Yes, it's hard, but if people don't share things get.
Yeah.
I was raised in the old school day to where you didn't even mention if you had a nerve problem or know, anything like that.
Yeah.
And I've dealt with the OCD and different things all my life. And then until I went to therapy and found out that there was a name for it and other people had it, I just thought I was crazy.
Many of us do. Many of us think we're crazy, and then we realize that we're not alone. Yeah.
I know I'm crazy, and I'll deal with it. But everybody should go to therapy at least once or twice in their life.
Absolutely.
It's a big difference. But I'm going to get off here, and I will get a hold of you. And
beautiful.
Greg, I love you. Jenny, she's ironing or something, man. She can come here. Oh, no, you wouldn't believe the way I've been living. It's not me, but you learn. I live on my couch because that's you'll learn. You'll hear a lot about me. So
beautiful.
Thank you all.
So when you're ready, we're going to do that pond journey. Okay.
Yes, we'll do that pond journey.
Out, done, and on to doing what you're doing. So when you get off today, I want you to start writing down when you've done this session, what you're going to do next. When I've done that, what is it that I'm going to do? The first thing I'm going to do, then write it and put it on the wall. All right, keep it in front of you, and I'll see you soon. Thank you so much, Rebecca. It was just amazing. Mwah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, I am very curious, Anjii. Do you think that what they told Rebecca was incorrect? Was it a nuance when they say you're going to have to hold on to that forever? What does that come from? Because my initial impression is the same thing that when someone says to you, you know, oh, can you make me forget this person that I just broke up with?
Yeah. So what it is to me, it's like grief. People sort of say, oh, so there's the 4 seasons of grief, and then you feel this, and then you feel that, and then eventually you come back out. It's like, no, they're going to feel that grief all their life. Their loved one just passed away, right?
Yeah, right.
They're going to feel all their life. It may become, softer at sometimes, but they will always, until the day they die, have those moments where they just break out and their heart breaks. And we need to give people permission to own that, because by flicking it off, it's like, oh, you'll come back eventually. So there's that, right? And then there's the other side of trauma, of saying you've got this for the rest of your life. Because I was told the same thing. Well, you'll never get over PTSD, so you should probably look at getting a disability pension or something like that. And I'm like, no, that won't be happening. And so I've climbed that Mount Everest that those therapists never have. So, they can study all they want, and they can read from their books about, so, when you climb Mount Everest, the air is going to get so thin that your lungs will feel like this. And, when the avalanche comes, this is how you'll feel, and you'll run across there, and you're going to do this. But until they've climbed that Mount Everest themselves, and I know how the air feels when it goes in. I know the feeling of running from that avalanche, right? And the electric things that are going through my head of survival, right? So I know of what I speak. But when you have therapists that are trained in things like this, that they can only read, so the triggers are this and the triggers that, like, they be little triggers. To me, the triggers are everything, right? But they sort of put it aside, so no, let's deal with this. And they don't even look at that. You know why? Because they don't know how. You know what? We'll give it some beta blockers, and we'll keep it in a, in a little dog pen. Go in, cut its throat, get it out of there. No more triggers. Right, now I can deal with the trauma of, like, some shit happened to me without being triggered, right? I can have a relationship with someone without being triggered by his behavior, or I can operate in my life now without having that. But it's the one thing that they don't deal with. They go, yeah, look, you're just going to have that all your life. Well, I'm here to say, first-hand experience, not from any textbook, first-hand experience, you actually don't have to. And you can get rid of those triggers like that. You go down and you cut them off at the pass, because you are in control of this body, right? You created the cancer, so you can uncreate the cancer, if you're not too late. But, sometimes people going down, that are terminal, and I'll take them down in hypnosis, and I'll let stand and say, do cancer, go back. And I'll say, I wanted to study this. Okay. Other people say, wow, so I've really learned not to hold stuff in, so people come for smoking cigarettes. They've got emphysema, right? And, so many times they'll be down there, and I'll go, well, you go and, find out. So, why did I get emphysema? So many men come back with, like, no, it's not the cigarettes, it's uncried tears. And all of their life in that generation, remember that boy, and it's in their lungs. And they'll be under hypnosis and just start bawling their eyes out. Oh, Greg, have I triggered you? You crying? You okay? but it's incredible where it comes from. So, I can say, well, this comes from your cigarettes and things. It's like, that's not my job to do. And I don't have the right to be God and tell you what's wrong with you, but you do. So you go down, and then they find the reason. So they cry their tears, and we heal with that stuff. And, the emphysema is still here. It's going to be, technical, but, I'm at peace with it.
Powerful there. The therapist always is acting like they're going to tell you what's wrong with you. But what you just said, you don't have the right. You have to tell yourself.
Yeah.
This raises a question about what you, and I know we didn't really even cover this, though, in a way you're talking stories about it, which helps people discover what it is, which in a way is more hypnosis like than actually defining it. But I am curious, for people that wonder, how would you break down what is hypnosis? What is happening? What is the power? Yeah, I'm curious about your overall definition and framework for how this rapid change is even possible.
Okay. So to me, hypnosis is a tool to access my deeper self. So there's nothing satanic about it. There's nothing religious about it. There's nothing, it's a pathway down to where psychics go. So when a psychic says to you, oh, your auntie, she's got yellow flowers, I can see, she's in that place. And so why go to a psychic when you can do it yourself, right? You know, and you know what, I'm not psychic, but I'm, you know, this is what I've been shown. You will be a guide and a host, and you will take these people down to this place where they can heal themselves, and we will be present to guide them and give them what they need, right? So I'm the receptionist. Okay, appointment for Dr.
Right.
John. He'll be coming down to Garden 74.5. We'll go down there and, you know, Dr. John's people will come in. Like that's sort of a really silly way of putting it, but that's how it works. So it's your inner self. We all can get there, but I know how to take you down there. So to me, you know, I don't call it hypnosis. I just call it guiding, holding space. You know,
I was going to say, I haven't heard you talk really about subconscious mind or unconscious or passing the critical faculty, which is all the lingo that hypnotists commonly use.
Of course
Was
they
that,
do.
did you start with that stuff and then move to this view, or were you always in this? Did you always see the more direct connection?
Look, even in my training, I was, you know, realizing that things were dysfunctioning. So I was the sample they used for smoking cigarettes, right, in our training. So, you know, they did the smoking thing on me. And then the next day I'm at home with my partner and I was going, oh my God, and he's going, oh my God, will you go and buy a packet of cigarettes? And I'm going, no, I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to be the failure. And she did it to me and then she'll hate me because I was the failure. And he's just like, and, you know, I just had to sit there and think, what went wrong? So when they were training you on doing smoking cessation with people, they're saying, so, you know, what you do is you take, so when did you start smoking and why did you start smoking? Okay, to fit in and yep, okay. And so take you down to hypnosis. Okay, so now, you know, Angela, you started smoking at the age of 14 because you were trying to fit in with people. You realize now that that was really ridiculous and you were a grown-up person, so you let that go. And you know what, the smell of smoke is disgusting. And right. And then, oh, beautiful. Imagine yourself not smoking, fabulous. Imagine yourself smoking, you're going to die, you know, back, and we're done, right? And that was the first time that I was guided to do the ask myself the thing, because she missed it. And I realized that in my conscious mind, I don't have the answer to this, because if I did, right, there's something I could possibly do about it. You know I started smoking, and I know it's for that. So all of these obvious reasons that sit out here. So I wrote the script, and that was the first time I wrote a script. And I got one of the other people on the course to come over, and I said, read this script to me. Don't put anything else in, just read it. I want to test something. So she took me down and, you know, she said, stand inside your smoking. I'm like, yep, fabulous. And I got there. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm there. And she said, go back to the moment you made the decision to smoke cigarettes. I'm in our family hotel. I'm wearing nappies. My sister and I were talking about this last night. I'm in nappies, so I was that young. And I'm looking up on the bench, and there's like these bench seats, and my dad sitting there with the bus drivers. They used to bring, you know, people in and they'd eat in the restaurant and things. And, you know, Dad's up there having a cigarette with them. And I asked the family, I said, Dad used to smoke Pall Mall filterless? And they said, yeah, because that's the packet I saw, right? The soft pack. And he's sitting there, he's got the rooster haircut. And he's sitting there, and the bus driver's talking to him, and he's blowing, you know, smoke rings, you know, and looking down at me and doing that. And I had a little lolly cigarette those days, a little lolly cigarette with a red end on it. And I'm like that. And so Dad got his lighter and he came down and he lit my little cigarette. And that was the moment. I didn't say I want to smoke. That was the moment I decided I wanted to be cool like my dad.
There
you are. Right. Couldn't have remembered that in my conscious mind. Some people go back to being in the womb, right? A 45-year-old lawyer comes because she's just an a-hole with men, and she doesn't know why. Every time I have a couple of drinks, I'm just rude and I'm obnoxious and I'm awful. I'm like, yeah, I've seen it. I've got to deal with it. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, I could sort of say, you know, modify your behavior and you are feminine and, you know, self-worth, and that's like, I don't know, stand inside it. Right. Go back to the moment where you decided that you're going to be, you know, awful to men and judgmental and mean. She went back to being in the womb, and she goes, I can hear my dad telling my mum she has to get rid of this baby. And I wasn't wanted. And So I'm like, okay, so let's have a look at that. And then she's like, oh, well, it was the 60s and they were really young, and
Right.
mum was going to be sent away. And so what happened? Well, they had me. And I said, how do you dare feel? Oh, I'm the light of his life. Like, well, let's go and get rid of that. She's like, oh my God, yeah. So, she just men don't want her, and she had to prove her existence, and this was this thing, is still trying to prove to her dad in the womb that she's worthy of this existence. Gone. Right. Couldn't have picked that in a script.
Yeah.
So this is what people do. And, this is the joy of what I do. It's like, you're healing. You know what's wrong with you. I'll guide you down there. I'll hold space. We got this.
Yeah.
So,
and I know we've talked a lot about you doing sessions. Are you training people too now how to learn hypnosis and practice it?
Look, I have some hypnotherapists that want to train in my way of working. So I sort of have to put that together, but I need to make it, worthy of my time and my effort and my learning. I have a house to keep overheads, and I don't have a trust fund or a husband. So, I need to sort of, create this and work it out, but I'm not very good at that. I'm not a business person. It's not my forte. So yes, I do need to get onto that, and they will turn up, and, perhaps the right thing will happen. But, this is actually what I'm getting pushed to do. So first of all, sort of mid last year, I started getting pushed that you have to get content out there. You have to get content out there. I'm like, ugh, no, I hate that stuff. Those that I can heal will find me. And they're like, no.
You need a manager.
I do. And so, now I'm in the space where they're going, you've got to teach people because you're not going to be here forever. So, one side of me kind of goes, oh, does that mean I'm getting to go home soon? Or, or does it mean that they just need it out there? So, here I am.
Yeah.
So,
but primarily right now, you're really spreading awareness. And that's really the nature of this tonight, about how this can work, and people that might be interested in listening to this, really coming to you. Trauma release is interesting. Why do you call it trauma release as opposed to resolution or overcoming trauma? Is there anything specific there?
Yeah, but you feel the energy of those words, overcoming trauma. It's like I have to battle it, right? What was the other word you said?
What did I say? Trauma recovery.
Resolution? No.
Yeah, trauma resolution.
You have to argue with it, right? Trauma release is like, let it go, and that's all I want to do. I just want to let it go. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to discuss it. I just want it gone, right? I've got a kid to do. I've got to survive. I've got to go out and work 3 jobs to keep a roof over this kid's house ahead. And I just want to release it. And that's actually what happens down there, is that the people are there and they're like, they come in and go, I've got some anger words to say to my mother. She died last year and I've got some stuff to say to her and get off my chest so I can get close. It's like, okay, well, that's a good question. So go down there and, ask your mother if she wants to talk to you, and then they have a discussion with their mother and she shows them this incredible thing, and they come back and I go, you still got some hard words to say to her while you're there? And they're like, no.
Yeah.
It's released. It's gone.
You make it seem so easy. How important is it for someone to understand why they have the trauma? Does that matter?
It's everything. It's absolutely everything. Yeah. And some people get told.
Like even soldiers that have PTSD, do they walk away going, oh, well, I had to do that service because of something in my childhood? Or what would you say in that case?
I've never had one say that. I had a suicidal soldier come, and he was saying that my nightmares are my dead comrades are in my room and they're haunting me and they're trying to drag me down to hell. And I said, look, I don't have the answer to that, but why don't we go down and just work on these triggers and do stuff there? So we worked on his triggers, and then we sat him there and they came and talked to him, and he had a huge conversation with them, and he came back and he said they said to me that they're watching over me. They're trying to stop me killing myself. And I said, oh, you were that close? And he's like, yeah, it's kind of the last day I was going to do, when I came to see you. And they were trying to keep me alive, and they want me to live for them and, watch over their families, their little kids and stuff. And they talked to him about things that were so intimate, life-changing. So what was the question again that I started
It
on
was
that
about
rant.
why, like a
Oh
soldier
yeah,
walking away.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And getting the
yeah,
why of it.
yeah. So the why of doing what they did, I don't have a lot of experience of that, but why things happen to many people are often brought in. Soldiers, I haven't had anyone sort of even ask that question, so I can't give an authoritative answer there. But I have had so many people that come and say, like sometimes they're told shite happens, right? So one person, that was about to travel here during COVID, she actually met with guides of hers. And the funny thing was, they talked about all these other things, but they said, hey, listen, when you're traveling, we can't help you with that. You have to keep yourself safe. And they kept showing her hands. And they're saying, we can't stop you getting COVID, right? That's beyond our pay grade or our control. So you have to keep yourself safe. So that was a really interesting thing, right? That we also have a responsibility. They're not there to just, pick us up off the floor every time we do something silly. And they're saying to, have absolute logic here and keep yourself safe. So, yeah, so many people get why, and so many whys are that there was some reason they need to learn it because there was something they were gathering out of it, right?
Yeah.
I needed to learn it so that I could sit here today and have this conversation with people talking about, what I know from my own personal experience. That was my why. Yeah.
Do you think the why is necessary to overcome it though? What if you're able to work with someone and get through release the trauma, and all of a sudden they don't even need to know why it happened? It's just gone. I mean, how often does that happen?
Yeah. Well, sometimes those people, so I have had those people, but the why for them is because sometimes shit happens and you were wrong place, wrong time. And they're like, okay, they resolve that with whatever they're doing.
Right.
So, there's not always sort of like a great spiritual thing. It's like sometimes, you jumped out in front of a train, like, you didn't look, you're on your phone. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so sometimes it happens. And yeah, I hope that's making sense because I'm starting to prattle around in a circle here.
No, it makes sense. And we have a few minutes left. I'm curious if unless there are other questions here. Anjii, if there was one thing you could say about trauma release PTSD, for people that are a little afraid to explore it, or they're not sure, they're uncertain, knowing that you do this, I mean, what's the one piece of advice that you would give someone that is afraid to go too deeper into that for fear that they're going to get trapped?
Trapped where?
Maybe would trapped in the cycle of the
trapped where would be my first question, and then we go back from there. Yeah.
You got to work with her. See, she's good. I throw her stuff and you're already getting me in it. And I don't even have PTSD right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Thanks. I had a hypnotherapist that she just gave me a lot of confidence and said, oh, she's been doing this for so long, I know what I'm doing. I really can, because I of course came to her too and I said, I've tried this before and I don't know why, but I can't I can't have somebody ask me questions and not be conscious to I can't. So I was just saying, I can't get under. Can you help me with that? And oh God, now I'm going to forget my question.
Why can't you answer questions?
Because how do you answer someone's question and be unconscious?
Because you're speaking with another part of your body. So actually, how this works? It is an interesting question. How this works is so somebody's down in a deep hypnosis, and I'll have a question that they need to answer, and so you can actually ask them with it, and they'll just be like that, and then you're like, oh, and now your mouth muscles strengthen up, your body strength returns to your muscles and your tongue and your throat. Your mouth feels as though it's being washed out with cool, clear water, and your mouth muscles and things work to create your answer. but you can know that their mouth wasn't working before. They couldn't answer you. And, you know, when they talk about afterwards, they're going, yeah, I was like lying there going, oh, I can't answer, right? So it works the other way. So to me, if you can't do that without snapping out of it, it's possibly the instruction was not good.
And what she said to me, which I was like, I'm not quite buying this, is that, oh, you don't really have to be under. You just got to be in this sort of twilight, and you're still going to get it all. You're still going to get the result that I'm trying to give you, and with the things I'm saying and stuff. And you know, and is that true? Like, can you just, you know?
Yeah, I can sell you Nike while you're watching TV. You know, I can just wave one past your peripheral for half an hour, right? So, you know, you can get these things, but, you know, it depends on what you're doing down there. To me, it's important for you to go deep because you're going deep into you, right?
Right. That's
so, you know, if I said to you now, imagine your garden, we're going down there, 10, 9, 8, we are there in your garden, and now we're going to do the work. You're sitting here going,
I'm not there.
Yeah. That's not the part of the brain I need to work with. I need to allow that part of the brain to go and do this beautiful journey, you know, out there flying with the eagles or whatever, and listening to the music and concentrating on that while I call forward your subconscious mind to come forward and work with me now as we make the changes that you choose to make in your life to heal yourself. And I guide you on this journey as you do this journey to self-healing. So you're making your own decisions. You're already told at that point that you're making your own decisions and your own choices down there, which you are, right? So you're in control. So you're never losing control. So that question's thrown off the table. But it has to be that part of your mind. This part of the mind comes back and goes, oh, wow, I was having this amazing swim under this waterfall. It was really cool. And, you know, and then they'll start talking about the other part of the mind was doing that. It actually separates them, gets behind it, works with the part of the brain that, you know, got the trauma in the first place, right? The trauma wasn't here. The trauma's here. There's a little part of the brain that's a 3 that goes, oh, I'm scared. You know, this part of the brain that goes, holy shit, I better put this in place and put those chemicals there. And then when that happens from now on, I'm going to explode and I'm going to, you know, deal with my trauma that way. That's the part of the brain we need to come forward. So yes, you do have to be, you know,
you got to be
deep hypnosis to do that. Yeah. And if you're ready to go there, you will. Yeah. If the person is not guiding, well, you see, you've taken that on board.
That's the problem. I want to let it go.
Yeah, but what you're saying here is you said that's the problem I have. As far as I can see from what you've said, it's not your problem. It's actually the space you're with, the person you're with. And so what you need to do now is go and remove that from being your problem and sort of say, so, you know, when I'm ready to let this go and heal my body and bring it back and, you know, look at why things happened, I will then look at what I want to do when I'm down there because I'm in control of that. So someone hasn't guided you right? Or you know, if someone's teaching you to drive a car and didn't actually tell you about the gear shift, you're not going to go too far, are you? Right? So you can't say, I can't drive a car because I didn't know where the gear shift was. It's like, no, someone didn't actually show me that's where the gear shift was or put my hand on it and guide me to use it. So the first thing you have to do is remove this from being self-blame and then sabotaging your future because of something else. And then you'll be ready. Daniel?
Okay.
Yeah. These are amazing. There have been some amazing conversations tonight, amazing shifts in understanding of what it takes to get into deep hypnosis and resolve trauma. Anjii, for those that want to learn more and really delve into this work with you, where can they find you?
Look, they can find me on Facebook and YouTube. So it's Anjii Bryers Biofield Therapy, ANJII, Bryers, BRYERS. Biofield Therapy. So my YouTube channel is that, and my Facebook page is that. You can contact me directly through, you know, the Facebook Messenger on that page. And, you know, my email is anjieb@gmail.com, which I can put a link into it afterwards. And they can find me there. And Greg Bornstein, where do they find your podcast, Open Loops?
Greg Bornstein, yes. They find me on all podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify. If you go to open-loops, You'll see my show. It's Open Loops with Greg Bornstein, Conversations That Bend. Check it out. Angie's been on quite a few interesting episodes. Yeah, no, but I think this has been very informative. Always interested in hearing your take on hypnosis because it is very it is different. Yeah, you're going to the inner world, you've managed to put it all together, and I think this in combination with your animal communication skills really makes a unique combo. So I encourage all of you to experience the Anjii magic. Daniel, did you have something before we wrapped?
Yeah. Can you do a horse virtually, or like a animal with the person, or
it depends on it depends on what the issue is. So someone sort of says, oh, I just want, can you tell me what my horse is thinking? No one's going to turn up, right? So I'm just the receptionist there as well. If it's a horse that's got
a problem,
a real problem,
yeah,
they will turn up and I will voice what they need you to hear. But my preference is it your horse that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So my preference is to take you there and you can get those answers for yourself. So, why should I have the conversation when you can have it yourself?
Right.
Right. So, because you can do that. You can go down there and find those answers, because I'm just going to that place where I would take you. So 2 birds, 1 stone, go down, get those answers. But yeah.
So you'd work with me and then I would learn how to sort of be.
No, you wouldn't learn how. No, I'd just take you straight down there. You don't have to, do a big course on it. Yeah. We just go down to your garden. It's like ask the questions, Yeah.
And you don't have to be there with the horse. You don't have to be in the presence.
No. I get horses contacting me from the other side of the world to say, I've gone down in the paddock and my eye's hurting. I need you to contact my owner and, get it down here, right? So, I don't need the horse to be in the room. But, this is you. You are so powerful that you can go down there and find these answers, because we're all capable of this. We're all capable of accessing all of this.
Yeah, just always been dying to to develop this further, to just get into that. Beautiful. So much. Yeah.
So that is yet another reason for you to move beyond your current thoughts of like, I'm terrible because I couldn't go into hypnosis with a woman that couldn't get me into hypnosis.
Yeah.
Right. You
and
need
it
to
wasn't
move beyond
just
that.
her. I really was blaming myself. I was just like not blaming, but just sort of like, maybe I'm just too hyper, or maybe, because I've tried several different people and I didn't really think it's the person, but I just sort of gave up on myself.
Well, there's the 4 keys there. So there's the 4 keys, right? And remember, at the front of those 4 keys is a pond of poo, right? That you're standing in, whether it's a health poo or you're standing in a pond of poo, and there's 4 keys to climbing out. I'm reaching out my hand and you're like, do I trust her? Do I want to be out more than I want to be here? Or does it mean I have to actually do some work? Do I know what we're going to do down there? Well, Angie's talked to me about what we do down there. We just go down to my garden and I answer my own questions. That's pretty amazing, right? And then the 4th thing is you just, concentrate on the sound of this voice. And I will take you down to that garden where you can do the work that you've got to do. And when you do that, you'll go into a deep hypnosis. And if you're ready, you'll just go pretty much instantly. I'll see you atavistic pretty much instantly. And then the rest is just a deepening game. So, you have to be ready. You have to know what you want to do down there. You've got the drive now to go down there. You're sitting in a hospital bed, right? You've got the drive to make change, right? You've got the drive to take back control of your vehicle. So don't let bad thoughts and self-sabotage stop you from going forward anymore. So you need to have a big discussion with yourself and go, I'm owning blame for something. Why am I owning blame for it? Maybe I secretly sort of am a bit scared of it. Why am I scared of it? And because someone to take control, like, why am I scared someone to take control? Well, no, they're not taking control because I'm taking control of myself. Like, this is actually going the deepest I've ever been. This is actually going more into myself than I've ever been in my life. I'm going to be more in control than I've ever been in my life. And so moving that around and just peeling back that onion. So why is that? Okay, why is that? And then in the middle of it, you go, I'm so ready. I'm going to talk to my horse. I'm going to sort this stuff. I'm going to work out what's wrong with my back. I'm going to get guidance on how to fix my back. I'm going to get guidance on how to fix my finances in my life. And I'm going to get guidance on what I'm here to do. And then you'll go, oh, I'm ready.
Awesome.
In the meantime, in the meantime, guys, look, my meditation is, just go to Anjii Bryers sleep meditation on YouTube, and it'll take you there. And look, put some headphones on. It's a whisper one. It's a whisper meditation, and try it tonight. I'd love to get your feedback on how you go with it, and please do, because I want to do some more. And so just any thoughts of whether you love it or keep doing the same, or you're just annoying or whatever. But try it out for me tonight. I'd really appreciate that.
Anjii Bryers. Oh, sorry, Daniel. Go ahead.
I just went to it. So yes, I'll definitely. I got it.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah. Practice. You can practice hypnosis. There was a guy that said, I don't know if Milton Erickson said this or somebody else, the Doug O'Brien, who's a NLP practitioner and neo-Ericksonian trainer in New York City, always says, a trance every day. Have a trance at breakfast every day. I think that's a great thing. You should do it. Give yourself the experience. Play Anjie's thing once a day. See what happens after a week.
Yeah.
I guarantee, Daniel, you'll be in a different place than you think you're going to be with hypnosis.
Yeah, my next goal was to actually really, really finally learn how to meditate and have the discipline. And that's another thing that I just keep. I'm gonna do that. Another year goes by, and I need this. So meditation.
Look, I'm personally not good with meditation. I just get bored.
Me too. I'm kind of like, how do I sit here and think of nothing?
So for me, I could do a 14, 15 hour stint in emergency services, and I could just go into a room because I've got 30 minutes to eat and get it back together and get back on deck. And I could just go into a room and go, I'm cutting myself down from 10 down to 1, and when I reach number 1, I'm going to sleep deeply for 10 minutes. It's going to heal and rectify my mind so that I'm ready to do my work. And in exactly 10 minutes, 1 minute before the alarm goes off, I will awake, and I know that it's, and I'd go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and I'd wake up. And then the alarm would go off. And and when I wake up, I'll feel as though I've slept for 8 beautiful hours, refreshed and revitalized and ready to do my work. So that's what I do. Yeah. I'm not big on, but I do love the sleep meditation. So I love, like the ones like what I do. And I'm so just gently go down and relax.
Yeah.
And focus on your day, because all of your best decisions are made in your sleep. Your conscious mind can go and dream. And your decisions made there, so you don't need to worry about them now. And when you go to sleep, you'll sort those things out. And when you wake up in the morning, you have the answers, right? And it's like, that's great. I love those ones, but I don't love the ones that are like, no, concentrate on the flame. I'm just like, I can't do
Or
it.
these people who's, you got like Deepak, he's got to sit for 2 hours a day every day of his life, and that's why he's so grounded. And who the hell could do that?
Meditation is watching TV, it's watching your cat chase a cricket. Meditation is watching the thing. Meditation is driving, right? It's a state.
It's just sort of zoning out.
Yeah. It's what you do in that state that counts. If you're in that state and sort of going, I'm panicking, you're going to come back and go, I'm panicking. If you're in that state, so going, oh, cool, concentrating on driving, feeling very peaceful.
Yeah.
I'm going to fill myself up.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in control of that keyboard and that computer. So let's do it.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Anjii, for your time. Anjii Bryers, Biofield Therapy. Check her out. Thank you again so much for doing this, Anjii. Thank you, everybody, for contributing. And stay in touch. Reach out to Anjii. She's very she might get you into a session if you reach out, but look, it'll be worth it.
I do have to warn you, I am not for the faint-hearted. I don't take BS. I don't
she goes deep.
But I don't take people that say, no, I just want to swim in here, so I want to talk about it for 24 hours. I'm like, no. No. You come back when you're ready to get rid of it, because I don't need to swim in your poo. Right. You've talked about it for 5 years with therapists. Here today is about climbing out. So I'm not for the faint-hearted. Some people don't like that, and that's okay, because there's horses for courses. But others are just like, oh, for the first time in my life, I don't have to bleed on the table, and I can just go and heal myself, because it's about me. It's not about the therapist knowing what I've done or where I've been. It's about me healing my heart and myself. So, you know, that's me. I'm not a looker for 12 months. I'm like, ready to climb out. Good. Let's go. So
yeah, that would be such a burnout too, I would imagine, for the therapist.
Yeah. Because when people do that, it's good to do that a couple of times, because people have held things in for many, many years. But, as soon as I know that people have been to therapists, some for 20 years, right? That's when I change the game. I'm like, no, we're not playing your usual of like, let's look at all the pretty things on the table. It's like let's wipe the table. Right. What do you want to do? You want to keep swimming in that? You want to keep talking about it? Or you want to get on with your life? So,
yeah. Well, that's perfect.
A bit harsh. Yeah.
No, that's.
Yeah. That's why I'm not married, I think. They say, oh, she's scary.
Amazing. There she is, Anjii Bryers. Thank you again for doing this, Anjii. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thanks so much, guys. And thank you all for your input. It was just really beautiful. It really made it a really beautiful talk. I appreciate it. And I'll speak to you all soon.
Talk soon, everybody.
Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Anjii is available for clinical hypnotherapy, specializing in PTSD, trauma release, and active living and regression therapy via Zoom. To book or find out more about online workshops, you can contact her at anjieb@gmail.com or visit her Facebook page and YouTube channel, Anjii Bryers